Hello everybody, we're here again training with you. The topic today is going to be Kime, or focus, the moment of decision. Okay, this moment, Kime, is one of the hardest ones to explain. So I'm going to do my best to include as many of the ingredients that I remember, and it may take more than one session to explain this. So just bear with us, hang out, practice some of these concepts, and you can do it step by step, but the idea is to include them. There is no order. Okay, so let's begin. Now that we have explained what the topic is about, I want to start by explaining how we got to this point. Okay, I was taught that when the Western world started going to Japan after the war, and they started learning these karate concepts, that when they would say the word suki, which is a representation of a technique, suki, the closest translation we had was punch. And so in our interpretation, punch is anything done with a clenched fist. Pretty much we consider a punch. But in Japan, because they're so concise with their language and because of their culture, their idea of suki was not only, that was the last part of the ingredients in the technique. What they wanted is a technique, and I'm going to read off for you right here the ingredients that comprise a suki. A suki requires alignment, solidity, drive, traction, mental focus, mental strength, snap to create shock so that the technique is power is instantaneously transferred and delivered. It also requires connection. And these are the techniques that come, or the ingredients that come to mind to me right now. But there are many in the whole learning process of Kime. So now, without being too long-winded, I'm going to go into some of the explanations with more clarity for us to then understand and take it step by step. Some of the concepts that I just mentioned, we're going to go over it step by step. One is connection. That is a very difficult concept to understand. But we're just going to go through the motions, take a visual account of it, try to emulate it, practice it. Now, connection is here so that we can make sure that we eventually are connecting the floor to the person. We're making connection throughout our bodies from our external force. We talked about this before. But Kime is a specific moment when the entire body hardens, but hardens because of the connections, and you're able to then transfer. What you must focus on in Kime is your shoulders down, even this shoulder down, and connecting it to your tande, the middle. So what you're doing is you're trying to tie these points together to solidify the torso. It's very important to try to squeeze these together, up to down, sideways to middle, squeezing towards the axis. Okay. Another factor is the back leg, like we spoke about before, the driving leg. Sometimes, speaking about Kime, like we've spoken about right now, again, it's a very complex thought process. as you can tell, it doesn't just include the fist being clenched and making contact. It requires many other ingredients in order to carry out maximum power. Why do we have to do this? The assumption in karate is that you are empty-handed. Maybe you got woken up and you haven't got a chance. The person is right in between you and your weapon, whatever that might be, in your house. So you have to get past the person to get to your weapon. So you have to be very, very finishing, very complete in the execution of your technique with the maximum your body can deliver. Okay? Now, these are principles that exist already around us, but we don't really pay much attention. I'll give you some equivalents. If I kick a beanbag, it would be just some fun. It would have a little bit of weight attached. When I make contact, the beanbag would have some weight. If I take a chair, a metal chair, with the same weight as the beanbag, and I kick it, it would be a different effect. The different effect, because it is more solid, I would get more pain as I kick it, right? So there's a factor of mass. There's also the second factor, which is a factor of solidity. If I was to take the same chair and anchor it, bolt it into the floor, and I kicked it, then it would not move. Now we have a factor of stability. And stability is another factor in the equation of Kime. So your stances need to have gripping the floor with your toes, so when you strike, there is no slipping upon impact. So Kime, all this work of solidity and all this work, you can make sure that when the moment occurs, it's transferred totally with no loss of energy. Now, going back again to Kime, all the factors. We cannot have loss of energy anywhere. That's why we practice and practice. Hopefully to never use it, but it teaches the body a lot of very interesting things. One is, if I do technique this way, and the elbow is bent, the energy is lost through my elbow. If I do the technique and I raise my shoulder, technique is lost through my shoulder. So instead of the energy going into the person that's attacking me, my energy is getting lost. So this is a subtraction from my Kime. So you see the importance of studying each and every detail. Another very critical connection point is the buttocks. Now the buttocks, when striking, most people lean. That is an inertia strike. You're striking with the body in motion. That is true. But when you hit something solid, you will receive an equal and opposite reaction. So because there is no stake in the ground for its stability, it will hit and bounce back. There will be loss from not having. So the buttock needs to be tightened and pushing down to where you feel almost like it's cranking down on the heel. Thinking this way. Always thinking down. It's not easy because there's always a factor of balance. But you must feel that I am pushing pelvis up, so that this goes downward, pushes my foot down, which shoots the energy back in the opposite direction. These are all factors of Kime. So traction, connection, solidity, right? Now, all the time, we must be thinking of these things. These things apply. Now, I mentioned Suki because it was the most, I believe, most easily understood concept. Because we would be thinking a Suki is a punch. But now you realize how many ingredients go into Suki. The same applies for blocks. When I'm doing a block, the idea is that the person is larger, maybe more than one, maybe they've caught you in an opportune moment, right? And you have to defend yourself. So your block needs to feel like you are going to put your entire body. That's not one of those. This looks very neat and very sanitary. But the block really should embody the principle of self-defense. I must feel like I am moving from this position to defend myself. I need to make sure that my entire body is involved in the technique. Entire body. Entire body. Each block with my totality. Each punch with my totality. Each block with my totality. Every single time, technique, totality, 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 totality. Everything with your total body. The body adds mass, mass drive, mass, solidity, impact, and snap.